viewers, and welcome to another chapter of reading. This day is very special to me, as believe it or not, I met my wonderful significant other in person on this day 5 years ago. Can you believe that? It's been that long since we first met. Time definitely has a way of sneaking up upon us. So with this said, happy 5th Meet-A-Versary, my love. I blew you a kiss. Now let's get started in today's chapter. Chapter 12, the Patronus. Harry knew that Hermione hadn't meant well, but that didn't stop him from being angry with her. Well, yeah, those feelings are reasonable. He had been the owner of the best room in the world for a few short hours, and now because of her interference, he didn't know whether he would ever see it again. He was positive that there was nothing wrong with the firebolt now, but what sort of state would it be once it had been subjected to all sorts of anti-jinx tests? Ron was furious with Hermione too. As far as he was concerned, the stripping down of a brand new firebolt was nothing less than criminal damage. There are many things which can be described as criminal damage, but I don't think destroying a firebolt would be one of them. Hermione, who remained convinced that she had acted for the best, started avoiding the common room. I'd avoid it altogether, unless it wasn't as crowded, honestly. Harry and Ron supposed she had taken refuge in the library and didn't try to persuade her to come back. All in all, they were glad when the rest of the school returned shortly after New Year, and Gryffindor Tower became crowded and noisy again. Precisely my point. What saw Harry on the night before term started? "Had a good Christmas," he said. Without waiting for an answer, he sat down, lowered his voice, and said, "I've been doing some thinking over Christmas, Harry. After the last match, you know, if the dementors come to the next one, I mean, we can't afford you to, well..." Wood broke off, looking awkward. "I'm working on it," said Harry quickly. "Professor Lupin said he'd train me to ward off the dementors. He should be starting this week. He said he'd have time after Christmas." "Ah," said Wood, his expression clearing. "Well, in that case, I really didn't want to lose you as seeker, Harry." "And have you ordered a new broom yet?" "No," said Harry. "What? He'd better get a move on, you know. You can't ride that shooting star against Ravenclaw." "He got a firebolt for Christmas," said Ron. "A firebolt? No, seriously? A real firebolt?" "Don't get excited about it," said Harry gloomily. "I haven't got it anymore. It's confiscated." And he explained all about how the firebolt was now being checked for jinxes. "Jinxed? How could it be jinxed?" "Sirius Black," Harry said wearily. "He's supposed to be after me, so McGonagall reckons he might have sent it." "Well, I don't want to say any spoilers, but..." Leaving aside the information that a famous murderer was after his seeker, Wood said, "Oh, if Black could have bought a firebolt, he's on the run. The whole country's on the lookout for him. How could he just walk into quality Quidditch supplies and buy a broomstick?" "I know," said Harry, "but McGonagall wants to strip it down." Wood went pale. "I'll go and talk to her, Harry," he promised. "I'll make her see reason. A firebolt, a real firebolt, on our team. She wants Gryffindor to win as much as we do. I'll make her see sense. A firebolt." Classes started again the next day. The last thing anyone felt like doing was spending 2 hours on the grounds on a raw January morning. Well, it's currently July, so I'm glad it's not January. But Hagrid had provided a bonfire full of salamanders for their enjoyment. Salamanders? I'm a little afraid to ask if it's for the lesson or for you to eat. I hope not the latter. The very thought makes me shudder. And they spent an unusually good lesson collecting dry wood and leaves to keep the fire blazing up. The flame-loving wizard scampered up and down the crumbling white-hot logs. The first divination lesson of the new term was much less fun. Professor Tremonti was now teaching them palm tree. Okay, based on what I read online, I think this is your heart line. Somewhere around here is like your fate line. I'm trying to remember what the other two are because that's what these lines are. I'll have to get back to you guys on that. Or better yet, we'll go with my trusty friend Google. I don't mind including these little bits. Okay, I was right. This is the heart line here. This is the headline. And this is the lifeline. This is the lifeline. Okay, so now you know a little bit about it. With some help from Google and I. Anyhow. Think. And she lost no time in informing Harry that he had the shortest lifeline she had ever seen. Well, considering I just traced mine a little bit ago on my left hand, I wonder what she would say about mine. It was defense against the dark arts that Harry was keen to get to after his conversation with Book. He wanted to get started on his anti-dementor lessons as soon as possible. Yes, said Lupin when Harry reminded him of his promise at the end of class. Let me see. How about 8 o'clock on Thursday evening? The history of magic classroom should be large enough. We'll have to think carefully, but how we're we're going to do this. We can't bring a real dementor into the castle to practice on. Still looks ill, doesn't he? Said Ron as they walked down the corridor heading to dinner. What do you reckon's the matter with him? There was a lot of impatient tuff from behind them. It was Hermione, who had been sitting at the feet of the suit of armor, repacking her bag, which was so full of books it couldn't close. And what are you tutting us for? Said Ron irritably. Nothing, said Hermione in a lofty voice. Oh. Heaving her head back over her shoulder. Yes, you are, said Ron. I said I wonder what's wrong with Lupin, and you... Well, isn't it obvious? Said Hermione with a look of maddening superiority. Oh, Hermione, we love you. But only a few of us are gifted with being observant. I'm, of course, one of them, but, well, others just are more intuitive, I guess. Yeah, but ironically, I'm placed with the intuitive, but I don't mind. I'm a Pisces. We're famous for our intuition. Not if you don't want to tell us. Don't, snapped Ron. Fine, said Hermione haughtily, and she marched off. She doesn't know, said Ron, staring resentfully after Hermione. She's just trying to get us to talk to her again. On 8 o'clock Thursday evening, really should have timed this better, but at the same time, it's best I do it now. Well, it's not 8 o'clock yet, but I'm reading this earlier, so I'm not as tired after. I hope you all understand. Harry left Gryffindor Tower for the Ministry of Magic classroom. It was dark and empty when he arrived, but he lit the lamps with his wand and had waited only 5 minutes when Professor Lupin turned up, carrying a large packing case, which he heaved onto Professor Binns' desk. What's that? Said Harry. Another boggart, said Lupin, stripping off his cloak. I've been combing the castle ever since Thursday, and very luckily I found this one lurking inside Mr. Filch's filing cabinet. It's the nearest we'll get to a real dementor. The boggart will turn into a dementor when he sees you, so we'll be able to practice on him. I can store him in my office when we're not using him. There's a cupboard under my desk he'll like. Okay, said Harry, trying to sound as though he wasn't appreciative at all and merely glad that Lupin had found such a good substitute for a real dementor. So, said Professor Lupin. Professor Lupin had taken out his own wand and indicated that Harry should do the same. The spell I am going to try to teach you is highly advanced magic, Harry. Well beyond ordinary wizarding level. It is called the Patronus charm. How does it work? Said Harry nervously. Well, when it works correctly, it conjures up a Patronus, said Lupin, which is a kind of anti-dementor, a guardian that acts as a shield between you and the dementor. Harry had a sudden vision of himself crouching behind a Hagrid-sized figure holding a large club. Professor Lupin continued. The Patronus is a kind of positive force, and the projection of the very things that the Dementor feeds upon. Hope, happiness, the desire to survive. But it cannot feel despair as real humans can, so the Dementors can't hurt it. But I must warn you, Harry, that the charm may be too advanced for you. Many qualified wizards have difficulty with it. What does the Patronus look like? Said Harry curiously. Each one is unique to the wizard or witch who conjures it. And how do you conjure it? With an incantation which will only work if you are concentrating with all your might on a single happy memory. And that brings me to another fun thing about today. My wonderful significant other told me that his happiest memory is meeting me. And his Patronus, by the way, is a basset hound. Harry cast his mind about for a happy memory. Certainly nothing that happened to him at the Dursleys was going to do. Yeah, no kidding. Finally, he settled on the moment when he had first rode a broomstick. Right, he said, trying to recall exactly as possible the wonderful soaring sensation of his stomach. Acceleration at the end. The incantation is this. Open for your discern. Expecto Patronum. Expecto Patronum. Harry repeated under his breath. Expecto Patronum. Fun thing about Expecto Patronum being the incantation, if you translate it, it means I wait for a protector. How fitting for Patronus, huh? Concentrating hard on your memory. Oh, yeah, said Harry, forcing his thoughts back to that first rumor. Expecto Patronum. Sorry. Expecto Patronum. Expecto Patronum. Something suddenly whooshed out of the end of his wand. It looked like a wisp of silvery gas. I mean, in a sense, it could be considered that. Did you see that? Said Harry excitedly. Something happened. Very good, said Lupin, smiling. Right then. Ready to try it on a Dementor? Yes, Harry said, gripping his wand very tightly and moving into the middle of the deserted classroom. He tried to keep his mind on flying, but something else kept intruding. Any second now he might hear his mother again. But he didn't think that, or he would hear her again, and he didn't want to. Or did he? Lupin grasped the lid of the packing case and pulled. The Dementor rose slowly from the boxes, put it face toward Harry, one glistening, scabbed hand gripping out of its cloak. The lamps filled around the classroom flickered and went out. The Dementor stepped from the box and started to sweep silently toward Harry, drawing a deep, rattling breath. Yeah, I don't know how to do that. Sorry. A wave of piercing cold broke over him. Expecto Patronum! Harry yelled. Expecto Patronum! Expecto! But the classroom and the Dementor were dissolving. Harry was falling again through the thick white fog, and his mother's voice was louder than ever, echoing inside his head. Not Harry! Not Harry! Please! I'll do anything! Stand aside! Stand aside, girl! Harry! Nope. Done. Harry! I did the wrong voice, sorry. Harry jerked back to it. He was lying flat on his back on the floor. The classroom lamps were light again. He didn't have to ask what happened. Sorry, he murmured, sitting up and feeling cold sweat trickling down behind his glasses. Are you alright? Said Lupin. Yes. Harry pulled himself on one of the desks and leaned against it. Here. Lupin handed him a chocolate frog. Eat this before we try again. I didn't expect you to do it in your first time. In fact, I would have been astounded if you had. I probably would have gotten mine on the first time. A little bit more on that later. It's getting worse, Harry muttered, biting off the frog's head. I could hear her louder that time. And him, Voldemort. Lupin looked paler than usual. Harry, if you don't want to continue, I will more than understand. I do! Said Harry, fiercely stuffing the rest of the frost chocolate frog into his mouth. I've got to! What if the dementors turn up at our match against Ravenclaw? I can't afford to fall off again. If we lose this game, we've lost the Quidditch Cup. All right, then, said Lupin. You might want to select another memory, a happy memory, to concentrate on. That one doesn't seem to have been strong enough. Harry thought hard and decided his feelings when Gryffindor Tower had won the house championship last year and had definitely qualified as happy. He gripped his wand tightly and took up his position in the middle of the classroom. Ready? Said Lupin, gripping the boxwood. Ready, said Harry, trying hard to fill his head with happy thoughts about Gryffindor winning, and not dark thoughts about what was going to happen when the box opened. Go, said Lupin, pulling off the lid. The room went icily cold and dark once more. The Dementor glided forward, drawing its breath. One rotting hand was extending toward Harry. Expecto Patronum! Harry yelled. Expecto Patronum! White fog obscured his senses. Big word shapes were moving around him. Then came a new voice. A man's voice shouting, panicking. Nettie, take Harry and go. It's him. Run. I'll hold him off. The sounds of stumbling from a room. The door bursting open. A cackle of high-pitched laughter. Okay, I'll try my best to do this. I know stereotypical witch laugh, but it seemed fitting. Harry, wake up. Lupin was tapping Harry hard on the face. This time it was a minute before Harry understood why he was lying on the dusty classroom floor. I had my dad, Harry mumbled. That's the first time I've ever heard him. He tried to take on Voldemort himself to give my mom time to run for it. Harry suddenly realized that there were tears on his face, mingling with the sweat. He bent his face as low as possible, wiping them off his robes, pretending to do his shirt waist so that Lupin wouldn't see. You heard James, said Lupin in a strange voice. Yeah. Face dry, Harry looked up. Why, you didn't know my dad, did you? I did, as a matter of fact, said Lupin. We were friends at Hogwarts. Listen, Harry, perhaps we should leave it here for tonight. This charm is ridiculously advanced. I shouldn't have suggested putting you through this. No, said Harry. He got up again. I'll have one more go. I'm not thinking of happier things, that's what it is. Hang on. He racked his brains. A really, really happy memory. One that would turn into a good strong Patronus. My really, really happy memory. I'm an optimistic person, so I have to think on that. But if I had to choose, I think I will go with my wonderful significant other and I dancing together to Celine Dion's The Power of Love at my Sweet 16 party. That was such fun. I have a feeling it would bring out my Patronus. Oh yeah, I did not tell you what form it takes. The form my Patronus takes is a Siberian cat. How fitting for someone who loves cats, huh? The moment when he first found out he was a wizard, and he would be leaving the Dursleys for Hogwarts. If that wasn't a happy memory, he didn't know what was. Concentrating very hard on how he had felt when he realized he was leaving Pivot Drive, Harry got to his feet and faced the packing case once more. Ready? Said Lupin. He looked as though he were doing this against his better judgment. Concentrating hard? Alright, go! He pulled off the lid of the case for the third time, and the Dementor rose out of it. The room felt cold and dark. Expecto Patronum! Harry belled. Expecto Patronum! Expecto Patronum! The screaming inside Harry's head had started again, except this time it sounds as though it were coming from a badly tuned radio. Oh, I love that metaphor. Softer and louder and softer, louder, softer again. And he could still see the Dementor. It had halted. Then a huge silver shadow came bursting out of the end of Harry's wand, to hover between him and the Dementor. And those Harry's legs felt like water. He was still on his feet, though for how much longer he wasn't sure. Ridiculous! Roared Lupin, springing forward. There was a loud crack. I know that's not loud enough, but I tried. And Harry's cloudy Patronus had vanished along with the Dementor. He sank into his chair, feeling as exhausted as if he'd just run a mile, and felt his legs shaking. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Professor Lupin forcing the bugger back into the packing case with his wand. It had turned into a silvery orb again. Excellent, said Lupin, striding over to where Harry sat. Excellent, Harry. That was definitely a stop. Can we have another go? Just one more go. I would, honestly. Not now, said Lupin firmly. You've had enough for one night. Here. He handed Harry a large bar of Honeydew's best chocolate. I definitely want to go back to Honeydew's and get the chocolate now. Eat a lot, or Madame Pomfrey will be after my putt. Same time next week. Okay, said Harry, and he took a bite out of the chocolate and watched Lupin extinguishing the lamps that had rekindled with the disappearance of the Dementor. But that had just occurred to him. Professor Lupin, he said, if you knew my dad, you must have known Sirius Black as well. Lupin turned very quickly. What gives you that idea? He said sharply. Nothing. I mean, I just knew they were friends with Hogwarts too. Lupin's face relaxed. Yes, I know him, he said shortly. Or I thought I did. You'd better be off, Harry. It's getting late. Harry left the classroom, walking along the corridor and around a corner, then took a detour behind his suit of armor and sank down on its plinth to finish his chocolate, wishing he hadn't mentioned Black, as Lupin was obviously not keen on the subject. Then Harry's thoughts wandered back to his mother and father. He felt drained and strangely empty, even though he was so full of chocolate. Terrible though it was to hear his parents' last moments replayed inside his head. They were the only times Harry had heard their voices since he was a very small child. But he'd never be able to produce a proper Patronus if he had wanted to hear his parents again. They're dead, he told himself slowly. They're dead, and listening to the echoes of them won't bring them back. You'd better get a grip on yourself if you want that Quidditch cup. He stood up, crammed the last bit of chocolate into his mouth, and headed back to Gryffindor Tower. Ravenclaw played Slytherin the week after the start of term. Slytherin won, though narrowly. According to Wood, this was good news for Gryffindor, who would take second place if they beat Ravenclaw too. Therefore, he increased the number of team practices to 5 a week. This meant that with Lupin's anti-dementor classes, which were in themselves more draining than 6 Quidditch practices, Harry had just 1 night a week to do all his homework. Even so, he wasn't showing the strain nearly as much as Hermione, whose immense workload finally seemed to be beginning to her. Ah, yes, the burnout. This is why you should have a less course load and take it easy. Or just have one additional subject, you know? Every night, without fail, Hermione was to be seen in the corner of the common room, several tables spread with books, arithmancy charts, room dictionaries. I'd like to get my hands on those. Diagrams of muggles lifting heavy objects, like what, barbells? And file upon file of extensive notes. She barely spoke to anybody and snapped it when she was interrupted. I don't like it when I'm interrupted either, Hermione, trust me. How's she doing it? Ron muttered to Harry one evening as Harry sat finishing a nasty essay on undetectable poisons for Snape. Harry looked up. Hermione was very visible behind a towering, pile of books. Do not. Getting to all her classes, Ron said. I heard her talking to Professor Vector, that arithmancy witch, this morning. They were going on about yesterday's lesson, but Hermione can't have been there because she was with us in Magic Creatures. And Ernie Macmillan told me she's never missed a Muggle studies class, but half of them are at the same time as divination, and she's never missed one of them either. He didn't have time to fathom the mystery of Hermione's impossible schedule at the moment. He really needed to get on with Snape's essay. 2 seconds later, however, he was interrupted again, this time by Hood. Bad news, Harry. I've just been to see Professor McGonagall about the Bible. She got a bit shouty with me. Told me I got my priorities wrong. Seemed to think I cared more about winning the cup than I do about you staying alive. Just because I told her I didn't care if it threw you off as long as you cupped it. Snitch first. Well, that would do it, Bud. Sorry. Wood shook his head in disbelief. Honestly, the way she was yelling at me, you'd think I said something terrible. Well, yeah, you did. You should never wish upon the injuries of a teammate. Red card there, Wood. Then I asked her how much longer she was going to keep it. He screwed up his face and imitated Professor McGonagall's voice. As long as necessary, Wood. I reckon it's time you order a new broom, Harry. There's an order form at the back of which broomstick you could get a Nimbus 2001, like Malfoy's got. I'm not buying anything Malfoy thinks is good, said Harry flatly. January faded imperceptibly into February. Hey, that's my birth month. With no change in the bitterly cold weather. Yeah, this is why I consider February a winter month. The match against Ravenclaw was drawing nearer and nearer, but Harry still hadn't ordered a new broom. He was now asking Professor McGonagall for news of the firebolt after every transfiguration lessons. Ron standing hopefully at his shoulder, Hermione rushing past with her face averted. No, Potter, you can't have it back yet, said Professor McGonagall told him the 12th time this happened before he even opened his mouth. We've checked for the most usual classes, but Professor believes the broom might be carrying a hardening house. I shall tell you once we finish checking it. Now please stop badgering me. To make matters even worse, Harry's anti-dementors were going nearly as well as he hoped. Several sessions on, he was able to produce an indistinct silvery shadow every time the boggart Dementor approached him. But his Patronus was too feeble to drive the Dementor away. All it did was hover, like a semi-transparent cloud, draining Harry of energy as he fought to keep it there. Harry felt angry with himself, guilty about his secret desire to hear his parents' voices again. "You are expecting too much of yourself," said Professor Lupin sternly in their 4th week of practice. For a 13-year-old wizard, even an indistinct Patronus is a huge achievement. You aren't passing out anymore, are you? I thought a Patronus would charge the Dementors down or something, said Harry, dispirited. Make them disappear. The true Patronus does do that, said Lupin. But you've achieved a great deal in a very short space of time. If the dementors put in appearance at your next Quidditch match, you'll be able to keep them at bay long enough to get back on to the ground. You said it's hard if there are loads of them, said Harry. I have complete confidence in you, said Lupin, smiling. Here, you've earned a drink. Something from the Three Broomsticks. You would have tried it before. He pulled 2 bottles out of his briefcase. Butterbeer, said Harry without thinking. Yeah, I like that stuff. Lupin raised an eyebrow. Oh, Ron and Hermione brought me some back from Hogsmeade, Harry lied quickly. I see, said Lupin, though he's still slightly suspicious. Yes, as the son and godson of 2 best friend Mordors, who were your friends at Hogwarts, Lupin has every right to be suspicious, and it's funny. Well, let's drink to a Gryffindor victory against Ravenclaw. Not that I'm supposed to take sides with the teacher. He had a taste of it. They drank the butterbeer in silence until Harry voiced something he had been wondering for one. What's under Dementor's hood? Professor Lupin lowered his bottle loudly. Well, the only people who really know are in no condition to tell us. You see, the Dementor lowers its hood only to use its last and worst weapon. What's that? They called it the Dementor's kiss, said Lupin with a slightly twisted smile. It's what the Dementors do to those they wish to destroy utterly. I suppose there must be some kind of mouth under there, because they clamp their jaws upon the mouth of the victim and suck out their soul. Harry accidentally spat out a bit of butterbeer. What, they kill? Oh no, said Lupin. Much worse than that. You can exist without your soul, you know, as long as your brain and heart are still working. But you'll have no sense of self anymore, no memory, no anything. Ugh. That makes me shudder because I love I like my soul, thank you. There's no chance at all of recovery. You'll just exist as an empty shell, and your soul is gone forever. Lost. Harry drank wrongly. Lupin drank a little more butterbeer, then said, It's the fate that awaits Sirius Black, who was in the Daily Prophet this morning. The Ministry must have given the Dementors permission to perform it if they blind him. Harry sat stunned for a moment at the idea of having someone their soul sucked out through their mouth. But then he thought of fun. He deserves it, he said suddenly. You think so? Said Lupin lightly. Do you really think anyone deserves that? Yes, said Harry defiantly. Well, for some things. And for some things indeed, but I really don't think Black is worthy for it. Okay. He would have liked to have told Lupin about the conversation he overheard about Black and the Three Broomsticks, about Black betraying his mother and father, but it would involve revealing that he'd gone to Hogsmeade without permission, and he knew Lupin wouldn't be very impressed by that. So he finished his butterbeer, thanked Lupin, and left the history and magic classroom. Harry half wished he hadn't asked what was under Dementor's hood. The answer had been so horrible, and he was so lost in unpleasant thoughts of what it would feel like to have your soul sucked out of you, that he walked headlong into Professor McGonagall halfway up the stairs. Do watch where you're going, Potter. Sorry, Professor. I've just been looking for you in the Gryffindor common room. Well, here it is. We've done everything we could think of, and there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with it at all. had a very good summer, Potter. I'd be a very good friend to him. What about you guys? Harry's jaw dropped. She was holding out his fireball and it looked as magnificent as ever. I can have it back, said Harry weakly. Seriously? Seriously, said Professor McGonagall when she was actually smiling. I dare say you'll need it to get the feel of it before Saturday's match, won't you? And Potter, do try and win, won't you? Or we'll be running out of the 8th year in a row, as Professor Snape was kind enough to remind me only last night. Speechless, Harry carried the firebolt back upstairs toward the Gryffindor Tower. As he turned a corner, he saw Ron dashing toward him, grinning from ear to ear. She gave it to you? Excellent! Listen, can I have a go on it tomorrow? Yeah, anything, said Harry, his heart lighter than it had been in a month. You know what? We should make up with Hermione. She was only trying to help. Yeah, all right, said Ron. She's in the common room now, working for a change. They turned into the corridor of Gryffindor Tower and saw Neville Longbottom pleading with Sir Cadogan, who seemed to be refusing him entrance. I brought them down, Neville was saying tearfully. I must have dropped them somewhere. A likely tale, roared Sir Cadogan, then spotting Harry and Ron. Good evening, my fun yeoman. Come flap this loon in irons. He's trying to force entry to the chambers within. Oh, shut up, said Ron as he and Harry drew level with Neville. I've lost the password, Neville told them miserably. I made him tell me what passwords he was going to use this week because he keeps changing them. And now I don't know what I've done with them. Odds bodykins, said Harry to Sir Cadogan, who looked extremely disappointed and reluctantly swung forward to let them into the common room. There was a sudden excited murmur as every head turned, and the next moment Harry was surrounded by people exclaiming over his firebolt. Yeah, that would make me nervous. Anxiety attacks, not fun. How'd you get it, Harry? Will you let me have a go? Have you written it yet, Harry? Ravenclaw will have no chance. They're all on clean sweep sevens. Well, not all of them. Can I just hold it, Harry? After 10 minutes during which the firebolt was passed around and admired from every angle, the crowd dispersed and Harry and Ron had a clear view of Hermione, the only person who hadn't rushed over to him. I wouldn't rush over to them, honestly. I mean, I'd be curious and fascinated, but not enough to cause an anxiety attack. Bent over, working carefully, avoiding their eyes. Harry and Ron approached her table, and at last she looked up. I got it back, said Harry, grinning at her and holding up the firebolt. See, Hermione, there wasn't anything wrong with it, said Ron. Well, there might have been, said Hermione. I mean, at least you know now that it's safe. Yeah, I suppose so, said Harry. I'd better put it upstairs. I'll take it, said Ron eagerly. I've got to give Scabbers his rat tonic. He took the firebolt and, holding it as if it were made of glass, carried it away up the boys' staircase. Can I sit down, then? Harry asked Hermione. I suppose so, said Hermione. I suppose so, said Hermione, moving the great stack of parchment off the chair. Harry looked around at the cluttered table, at the long arithmancy essay on which the ink was still glistening, at the even longer Muggle study essay explaining why Muggles need electricity. Well, Hermione, you were raised by you're Muggle-born. This should come easy to you. If it weren't for electricity, I would have my computer charged up to read this chapter for you guys. I wouldn't have my phone to be charged up. TVs wouldn't work. I like to watch TV now and then. Even the lights wouldn't work. I mean, granted, I need sunlight, but what if it's nighttime? You need sunlight somehow, right?
on, Hermione. You should know this already.
And at the room translation, Hermione was now poring over. How are you getting through all this stuff? Harry asked her. Oh, well, you know, working hard, said Hermione. Close up, Harry saw that she almost looked as tired as Lupin. Why don't you just drop a couple of subjects? Harry asked, watching her lifting books as she searched for her room dictionary. Again, would really like to have one. I couldn't do that, said Hermione, looking scandalized. Arithmancy looks terrible, said Harry, picking up a very complicated-looking number chart. Yeah, no math for me. Oh no, it's wonderful, said Hermione earnestly. It's my favorite subject. But what was wonderful with arithmancy? Harry never found out. At that precise moment, a strangled yell echoed down the boys' staircase. The whole common room fell silent, staring and petrified at the entrance. Then came hurried footsteps, growing louder and louder, and then Ron came leaping into view, dragging with him a bedsheet. Look! He bellowed, striding over to Hermione's table. Look! He yelled, shaking the sheets in her face. What? Scabbers! Look! Scabbers! Hermione was leaning away from Ron, looking utterly bewildered. Yeah, I'm confused. I'd be confused too. Harry looked down at the sheet Ron was holding. There was something red on it. Something that looked horribly like blood! Ron yelled into the stunned silence. He's gone! And you know what was on the floor? No, said Hermione in a trembling voice. Ron threw something down onto Hermione's room translation. Hermione and Harry leaned forward. Lying on top of the weird spiky shapes were several long ginger cat hairs. And that is the end of this chapter. I hope you all enjoyed it. Bye!